There is a particular kind of power in the foods we choose to put on our plates, and that power becomes more significant rather than less as the years accumulate. For a long time, the conversation around nutrition and aging was framed mostly in terms of restriction, all the things you supposedly should not eat anymore, the foods that needed to be cut back or eliminated entirely in the name of managing some condition or another. That framing, while not entirely wrong, missed something important, which is that the science of nutrition and aging has just as much to say about what should be added to the diet as it does about what should be limited. The research on healthy aging increasingly points toward a more positive and more empowering message, which is that there are specific foods, eaten with reasonable consistency, that provide the body with exactly the kind of support it needs to maintain strength, sharpness, and resilience well into the later decades of life. This is not about a perfect diet or about eliminating joy from eating. It is about understanding which foods give your aging body the most useful raw materials to work with and making room for them on a regular basis. The biology of aging creates some specific nutritional needs that differ in important ways from the needs of younger adults, and understanding why certain foods matter requires understanding these underlying biological realities first. As the body ages, several things happen simultaneously that affect nutritional requirements. The efficiency of nutrient absorption in the digestive tract tends to decline somewhat, meaning the same food may deliver less usable nutrition than it would have decades earlier. The processes that build and maintain muscle become less responsive, requiring more deliberate nutritional support to counteract the natural tendency toward muscle loss. Inflammatory processes in the body tend to increase, a phenomenon researchers sometimes call inflammaging, which contributes to a wide range of age-related conditions and which certain foods can help to counteract. And the cardiovascular and nervous systems, both of which face increasing challenges with age, benefit enormously from specific nutrients that support their function and protect them from the kinds of damage that accumulate over time. Given all of this, certain foods rise to the top of the list when it comes to what older adults should be eating regularly, not occasionally or as a special treat, but as a genuine and consistent part of the weekly diet. What follows is a careful look at 10 of these foods, what makes each one particularly valuable for adults navigating the specific nutritional landscape of aging, and how to think about incorporating them into a sustainable and enjoyable eating pattern. The first food that deserves a regular place on the table for adults over 60 is fatty fish, and specifically the cold water varieties that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, including salmon, sardines, mackerel, and trout. The omega-3 fatty acids found in these fish, particularly the forms called EPA and DHA, have an extraordinarily well-documented set of benefits for aging bodies that span multiple organ systems. For the cardiovascular system, these fatty acids help reduce inflammation in blood vessels, lower triglyceride levels, and have been associated in numerous studies with reduced risk of heart disease, which remains one of the leading causes of death and disability in older adults. For the brain, DHA in particular is a major structural component of brain tissue, and adequate intake has been associated with better cognitive function and, in some research, with reduced risk of cognitive decline and dementia. The anti-inflammatory effects of omega-3 fatty acids also provide benefit for joint health, an area of particular concern for many older adults dealing with arthritis and general joint stiffness. The recommendation that most nutrition researchers converge on is consuming fatty fish at least twice a week, with some research suggesting even greater frequency provides additional benefit. For people who do not enjoy fish or who have limited access to fresh varieties, canned salmon and sardines provide an excellent and often more affordable alternative that retains most of the nutritional benefit, and the bones in canned sardines, which are soft enough to eat, provide a meaningful boost of calcium as an additional benefit. Preparing fish simply, with herbs and a bit of olive oil and perhaps some lemon, tends to preserve the nutritional quality better than heavily processed or fried preparations, and the simplicity of good fish prepared well is one of the more pleasant aspects of eating for healthy aging rather than a sacrifice. The second food category that deserves consistent weekly attention is leafy green vegetables, including spinach, kale, collard greens, and Swiss chard. These vegetables are nutritional powerhouses that deliver an extraordinary density of vitamins and minerals relative to their caloric content, which is particularly valuable for older adults who may have reduced caloric needs but unchanged or even increased needs for specific micronutrients. Leafy greens are excellent sources of vitamin K, which plays an important role in bone health and blood clotting regulation. They provide significant amounts of folate, which supports cardiovascular health and cognitive function. They contain lutein and zeaxanthin, two compounds that accumulate in the retina of the eye and that research has linked to reduced risk of age-related macular degeneration, one of the leading causes of vision loss in older adults. And they provide a meaningful source of dietary nitrates, compounds that the body converts into nitric oxide, which helps blood vessels relax and function more efficiently, supporting healthy blood pressure. Incorporating leafy greens regularly does not require elaborate preparation. A handful of spinach wilted into a soup or stew, kale massaged with a bit of olive oil and lemon juice to soften it for a salad, or any of these greens sautéed quickly with garlic as a simple side dish, all provide significant nutritional benefit with minimal preparation time. For older adults who may have some difficulty chewing tougher raw greens, cooking them lightly makes them easier to eat while still preserving most of their nutritional value. The goal of having some form of leafy green vegetable several times a week, ideally close to daily, is an achievable and genuinely impactful target. The third food that belongs on this list is berries, including blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries, which have attracted enormous research interest in recent years specifically related to cognitive health and aging. Berries are particularly rich in compounds called anthocyanins, which give them their characteristic deep colors and which have powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Research specifically focused on blueberries has shown associations with improved memory and cognitive function in older adults, with some studies showing measurable improvements in cognitive testing after consistent blueberry consumption over periods of several months. The antioxidant properties of berries help combat the oxidative stress that contributes to cellular aging throughout the body, not just in the brain, and their relatively low sugar content compared to many other fruits makes them a particularly favorable choice for blood sugar management, an important consideration for the significant proportion of older adults managing prediabetes or diabetes. Fresh berries are wonderful when in season, but frozen berries retain virtually all of their nutritional value and provide a practical, affordable, and consistently available option throughout the year. A half cup to a full cup of berries several times a week, added to morning oatmeal or yogurt, blended into a smoothie, or simply eaten on their own as a snack, is a simple and pleasurable way to provide the brain and the body with this particular form of nutritional support. The fourth food category is legumes, including beans, lentils, and chickpeas, which deserve far more attention in conversations about senior nutrition than they typically receive. Legumes provide an exceptional combination of benefits that make them particularly well suited to the nutritional needs of older adults. They are an excellent source of plant-based protein, which supports the muscle maintenance that becomes increasingly important with age, while also providing substantial dietary fiber, which supports digestive health, helps maintain healthy cholesterol levels, and contributes to the kind of steady, sustained energy that comes from foods that are digested slowly rather than causing rapid blood sugar spikes and crashes. The fiber content of legumes deserves particular emphasis because digestive health and regularity become more significant concerns for many people as they age, and the fiber in beans and lentils feeds the beneficial bacteria in the gut microbiome in ways that support not just digestive comfort, but, according to increasingly robust research, immune function, and even some aspects of mental health, given the emerging understanding of how gut health connects to brain function through what researchers call the gut-brain axis. Legumes are also notably affordable, shelf-stable in their dried or canned forms, and versatile enough to be incorporated into soups, stews, salads, and grain bowls in countless variations. Aiming for legumes several times a week, whether as the centerpiece of a meal or as a substantial addition to soups and salads, provides a foundation of nutritional support that few other food categories can match for the cost and effort involved. The fifth food that deserves regular inclusion is nuts, particularly walnuts, almonds, and pistachios, which provide a unique combination of healthy fats, protein, fiber, and micronutrients in a remarkably convenient form. The research on nut consumption and cardiovascular health is among the most consistent in all of nutritional science, with numerous large studies finding that regular nut consumption is associated with significantly reduced risk of heart disease and stroke. Walnuts in particular are notable for their omega-3 fatty acid content, making them one of the few plant sources of these important fats and a valuable option for people who do not eat fish regularly. The vitamin E content of almonds supports skin health and provides antioxidant protection, and the overall mineral content of nuts, including magnesium, which plays a role in hundreds of bodily processes including muscle and nerve function, and zinc, which supports immune function, makes them a genuinely valuable addition to the weekly diet. The portion size for nuts matters because of their caloric density, and most nutrition guidance suggests a small handful, roughly an ounce or about a quarter cup, as an appropriate serving size. This amount, eaten several times a week as a snack or added to oatmeal, salads, or yogurt, provides meaningful nutritional benefit without contributing excessive calories to the diet. For older adults who may be managing reduced appetite, nuts also provide a way to add caloric density and nutritional value to small meals, which can be particularly helpful for those who struggle to eat enough to maintain healthy weight. The sixth food category is fermented dairy products, particularly yogurt and kefir, which provide benefits that extend beyond their calcium and protein content into the increasingly important territory of gut health. These fermented foods contain live beneficial bacteria, often called probiotics, that support the health and diversity of the gut microbiome, which research increasingly connects not just to digestive function, but to immune health, to inflammation levels throughout the body, and even to mood and cognitive function through the gut-brain connection that has become one of the more exciting areas of nutritional research in recent years. Beyond the probiotic benefit, yogurt and kefir provide substantial protein and calcium in an easily digestible form, which is particularly valuable for older adults who may have some difficulty digesting other forms of dairy or who need accessible protein sources that do not require significant chewing or preparation. Choosing plain, unsweetened varieties of yogurt and kefir and adding natural sweetness through fruit or a small amount of honey provides the nutritional benefit without the excessive added sugar that flavored commercial varieties often contain. A serving most days of the week, whether as a breakfast component, a snack, or an ingredient in smoothies, provides consistent support for both bone health and digestive health in a form that most people find genuinely enjoyable to eat. The seventh food that deserves a place on this list is whole grains, including oats, quinoa, brown rice, and barley, which provide sustained energy along with a range of nutrients that refined grains have largely lost through processing. The fiber content of whole grains supports the same digestive and cardiovascular benefits already discussed in relation to legumes, while the B vitamins present in whole grains support energy metabolism and nervous system function. Whole grains also tend to have a lower glycemic impact than refined grains, meaning they produce more gradual and sustained increases in blood sugar rather than the rapid spikes associated with white bread, white rice, and other refined grain products, which is particularly relevant given how common blood sugar dysregulation becomes with age. Oats deserve particular mention within this category because of their specific content of a type of fiber called beta-glucan, which has been shown in research to help lower LDL cholesterol, the form of cholesterol most associated with cardiovascular risk. a bowl of oatmeal made with whole oats rather than the heavily processed instant varieties topped with berries and a sprinkle of nuts, combines several of the foods on this list into a single nutritionally powerful breakfast that is also genuinely satisfying and enjoyable to eat. Incorporating whole grains as the default choice rather than refined alternatives, in whatever form fits a person's preferences and cultural food traditions, provides meaningful nutritional support delivered through foods that form the foundation of meals rather than requiring significant additional effort to include. The eighth food category is colorful vegetables beyond the leafy greens already discussed, including bell peppers, carrots, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, and squash, which provide a different and complementary set of nutrients that support healthy aging. The specific compounds that give these vegetables their vivid colors, including beta-carotene in orange and yellow vegetables and lycopene in tomatoes, are powerful antioxidants that have been associated in research with reduced risk of certain cancers, support for eye health, and general protection against the cellular damage that accumulates with age. The vitamin C content of bell peppers and tomatoes supports immune function and collagen production, which matters for skin health, wound healing, and joint health, all areas that become more relevant as the body ages. The principle of eating a variety of colors when it comes to vegetables, sometimes summarized as eating the rainbow, reflects the genuine nutritional reality that different colored vegetables provide different and complementary nutritional benefits, and that no single vegetable, however nutritious, provides everything the body needs. Building meals around a variety of these colorful vegetables, whether roasted, steamed, added to soups, or eaten raw as part of salads, provides broad-spectrum nutritional support that specifically targets some of the most significant health concerns of aging, including cancer risk, eye health, and immune function. The ninth food that deserves regular inclusion is olive oil, specifically extra virgin olive oil used as the primary fat source in cooking and food preparation. Olive oil is the cornerstone of the Mediterranean dietary pattern, which has accumulated an extraordinary body of research support for its benefits in healthy aging, including reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, better cognitive outcomes, and even associations with greater longevity in populations that consume it as a primary dietary fat. The specific compounds in extra virgin olive oil, including monounsaturated fats and a range of polyphenol antioxidants, provide anti-inflammatory benefits throughout the body and support healthy cholesterol profiles in ways that distinguish it favorably from many other cooking fats. Using olive oil as the primary fat for cooking, for dressing salads, and for finishing dishes, rather than butter or other less favorably studied fats, is a simple substitution that research suggests provides meaningful benefit over time when sustained as a consistent dietary pattern. The quality of the olive oil matters somewhat, with extra virgin varieties retaining more of the beneficial polyphenol compounds than more refined versions, though any olive oil used consistently in place of less favorable fats provides benefit. The 10th and final food category on this list is garlic and onions, members of the allium family that have a long history of use in traditional medicine systems around the world, and that modern research has increasingly validated for their specific health benefits relevant to aging. These foods contain sulfur-containing compounds that have been studied for their cardiovascular benefits, including modest effects on blood pressure and cholesterol, and for their support of immune function. Garlic in particular has been studied for its potential anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties, and while it is not a substitute for medical treatment of any condition, its regular inclusion in the diet as a flavoring agent provides a low-effort way to add genuine nutritional value to meals that are being prepared anyway. The practical beauty of garlic and onions is that they require no special effort to incorporate, since they form the flavor foundation of an enormous range of dishes across virtually every culinary tradition. Using them generously in cooking, rather than minimally, is a simple way to boost both the flavor and the nutritional profile of meals that are already part of a normal eating pattern. Bringing these 10 food categories together into a sustainable weekly eating pattern does not require a complete overhaul of how a person eats or an elaborate system of meal planning that becomes its own source of stress. It requires a gradual shift in defaults, a tendency to reach for fish rather than processed meat a couple of times a week, to add a handful of berries to the morning routine, to make sure vegetables of multiple colors appear at most meals, to use olive oil as the primary cooking fat, to include legumes and whole grains as regular rather than occasional components of meals, and to keep a jar of nuts and some yogurt on hand for easy and nutritious snacking. The financial accessibility of this eating pattern deserves acknowledgement because cost is a genuine concern for many older adults living on fixed incomes, and the encouraging reality is that many of the most nutritionally valuable foods on this list, including dried beans and lentils, frozen vegetables and berries, canned fish, oats, and onions and garlic, are among the more affordable options available in most grocery stores. Building a diet around these accessible staples, supplemented with fresh produce when it is affordable and seasonal, makes this kind of nutritional pattern achievable for people across a range of financial circumstances rather than something accessible only to those with substantial resources to spend on specialty health foods. The social dimension of eating also deserves mention in any honest conversation about nutrition for older adults, because food is never just about nutrients, and the research on healthy aging consistently finds that eating in social contexts, sharing meals with others, and maintaining the pleasure and connection that food has always provided in human life are themselves contributors to health and well-being that operate alongside, and sometimes even ahead of the specific nutritional content of what is being eaten. Incorporating these 10 foods into meals that are shared with others, prepared with care, and genuinely enjoyed rather than consumed grudgingly out of a sense of nutritional obligation honors both the physical and the emotional dimensions of what good eating for healthy aging actually means. The cumulative effect of consistently including these foods in the weekly diet is not something that produces dramatic or immediately visible results, in the same way that the morning habits discussed in other contexts work through gradual accumulation rather than sudden transformation. What regular consumption of these foods does, over months and years, is provide the body with a steady supply of exactly the raw materials it needs to maintain cardiovascular health, cognitive function, muscle mass, immune resilience, and the kind of cellular health that underlies genuine longevity rather than mere survival. The research base supporting each of these foods is substantial and continues to grow, and the consistency with which different lines of research converge on similar conclusions about the value of these particular foods for aging bodies provides genuine confidence that incorporating them is a worthwhile and evidence-based investment in the years ahead. Eating well after 60 is not about perfection or about following a rigid system that leaves no room for pleasure or flexibility. It is about understanding with genuine clarity which foods give your body the most useful support for the specific challenges that aging presents, and making room for those foods consistently within a diet that remains enjoyable, sustainable, and connected to the social and cultural traditions that make eating one of life's genuine pleasures rather than merely a biological necessity. The 10 foods described here represent some of the most well-supported choices available, foods that have earned their place on this list through genuine scientific evidence rather than trend or fashion, and incorporating them with consistency is one of the most accessible and most powerful things any person over 60 can do for the years of health and vitality still ahead of them.